Bass Case Season 2, Episode 34, Musician Decorum. A lot of people, regular people, non-musician types, are very surprised when I tell them about the stuff you have to do when you have to go play a gig. They think it's like when you're on TV, when they see musicians on television and the movies. I'm like, it's not really like that. It's really just more of like a job, and you got to do these certain things and act a certain way. And if you start acting like the way musicians act on TV and portrayed in the films, you're probably not going to have a job for very long. And if you're like most musicians, you want gigs. You probably want paying gigs. I have students starting quartets, and they're looking for work, and some of them are getting it. And I have bass players in my studio and ensembles looking for bands that are already working, and they want to get in that way too. And that's a good way. That's how I got in. And when I have these conversations with those students, these players of mine, it makes me happy to hear that, because I'm glad to see and hear that players are looking at this from a commercial standpoint, that they're thinking about a life of playing music for a living. Maybe a full-time life of playing music, or maybe a part-time life of performing music in clubs and restaurants and churches and private parties. And it can be done easily. There are gigs out there. There are players out there working and doing well. There are groups out there that are working. And that's nice. What I'm not so thrilled about, a fact that dismays me, is the startling lack of professionalism shown by more than a few musicians out there. This is hard enough to do without behaving unprofessionally. Like what I mentioned, that a lot of the non-musicians in this world look at the life of a musician in a very side-eyed way. A lot of these people think that we like music so much that we'll play for free or on demand. Pianist friend of mine says he hates going to a party where he knows there's going to be a piano there, because invariably somebody's going to ask him to play something, and sometimes he's not in the mood. We don't want to turn it on all the time or give it away. But what's not helping is unprofessional behavior by players. And I've said for years, I think musicians are shooting ourselves in the foot. What's that old quote? I've seen the enemy and it is us. Let me run down a list of things. See if anything looks or sounds familiar, and correct this. Here's the first one. Punctuality on the gig. Call time and downbeat time are two different times of day. Call is when you're supposed to be there and be ready to play. Call doesn't mean you're parking your car, or you're walking it in, or you're setting up. Call means you are ready to play. Call at the studio, call at the nightclub, call at the restaurant, call at the wedding venue. That means you're already set up and ready to play. And you think about it as a bass player, you have an amp to set up. You've got to hope there's some power close by. You might, in many cases, have both electric and double bass. This is a lot of stuff. You have to make room for yourself. You have to make room for yourself. You've got to stake out territory for yourself. I can't think of a lot of gigs I've been on where I got there after some of the players and they said, "Hey, Philippe, we made plenty of room for you on the stage because we know you need the room." I can't think of a single time anybody's ever said that to me. So call time's important to you, and it may even be earlier for you as a bass player. If there's no call time as a bass player, you've got to be there at least an hour before downbeat. If it's my band and players aren't in place an hour before, I start thinking. And 30 minutes before downbeat, if somebody's missing, I start getting a little nervous. Look, there's players lower on my call list, but not because of their playing ability. It's because they're consistently late. It looks bad. Don't you think the restaurant manager, wedding planner, etc., sees this and might start thinking that your group is a little loose because the keys player is still setting up when you start the set? It's not a good look. It's unprofessional. You're late. Heavy traffic. That's not an excuse. Where I live, there's always heavy traffic and worse. I live in a big city. I don't want to hear about traffic. Equipment. If you're a bass player, guitarist, or keys player, you've got to have an extension cord and power strip. I don't know how many times I've seen this. Yeah, I'll let you bum off my power strip, but you really need to spend a few bucks and purchase your own, period. I see this same person time and time again. If you're doing this, knock it off. You've got to have your own equipment. It's not that expensive. This next one's hilarious. It used to be a music stand. The times I've seen a player use a chair or stool as a music stand has gone from hilarious to funny to sad and now just disturbing. If that's you, what are you doing? You just bring a music stand. I bring two just in case, but wow. Using a chair? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. Don't do that. Clothes. Every gig requires a certain dress code. Tuxes are still a thing. Suits are still being required on gigs. A sport jacket, a suit jacket, is still a thing. Even if it's not required, you should wear one on the breaks. You'll look like a professional. Most of the things I play, church, restaurants, nightclubs, weddings, require at the very least slacks, dress shirt, and dress shoes. Just get the black ones and make it easy on yourself, and then drop that sport coat on it. No running shoes, no cargo pants or shorts, no t-shirts. I don't care how casual the gig is, you should always dress better than your audience. We're musicians, professionals. We spend a lot of time and expense to learn how to play music for people. You want to look good while you're doing it. This next one kills me because it seems like it's gone up exponentially over the last 5 or 10 years. The sheer amount of conversation during rehearsals and pre-downbeat. I mean, I'm talking about constant talking. If you have that much to talk about, you're not concentrating on the task at hand. And worse, you're distracting to me and the other players that want and need to concentrate and wrap their minds around playing music, which is very difficult. Talking, making cracks, being glib, leave it in the parking lot, take care of it after the gig. But I mean, it seems like it's increasing. I see it more now in rehearsals and gigs than I did in performances. And sometimes I hear it during performances, during breaks in the chart. And I see more of this than I did 10 years ago. There shouldn't be that much to talk about up there. Here's one. I see it on Facebook a lot. It's the grousing and complaining about the food. This is all mixed up. I hear it at private parties and country clubs mostly. Just because you're playing doesn't mean the food is for you. You're the hired help. They're paying you. You're not a guest. Don't start eating things without being told that it's all right. Moreover, don't ask. Just eat when you get home. In some places I play, they set up a table for the band and tell us when to stop and take some of the food. and have something to eat. That's nice. Sometimes they give boxes on the way out. That's nice too. But that's an extra. Don't expect that. Be a professional, play, and leave when it's over. If it's the aforementioned private party, your wedding receptions, etc., stay out of the way during the breaks. You're not one of the guests. Stay close to the bandstand. Go to the restroom if you have to. Maybe go outside and get some air. But don't be walking around like you're part of the party. It makes some people nervous. I've heard that before. Here's another one. Not following directions. If the person that hired you says it's too loud, you've got to turn down. Period. If the person that hires you is not on the bandstand, that means it's the restaurant manager, you got to turn down. If the band leader says turn down, you got to turn down. A lot of these gigs are background music gigs, and they want people to be able to hear themselves talk and listen. You've got to follow that and be flexible. Sometimes you have to do stuff you don't want to do. Play an extra 10 minutes. Maybe start later. Play a tune you didn't expect. Just be a nice person and do your best. It pays off. Giving the band leader a hard time? I'll cross you off my list. I've got enough stuff to do and worry about. This is difficult enough. I don't need your hassle. Don't expect other people to carry your equipment or otherwise help you out. Sometimes they do, but don't expect that. They got their own stuff to do. They got their own job. There's no easy job in a band. Related to that, don't touch other people's amps, horns, music stands, etc. Never do that without asking. One last one. Asking too many questions. If you're in my band or I've played with some band leaders, I'll tell you everything you need to know. There should not be a bunch of questions at this point. Sometimes they're what the guitarist Tommy Tedesco called good attitude questions. Like he said, don't ask them. But if you have any questions about this episode, email me at phil@basecase.co. I'll talk to you soon.